Good evening. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming in this cold weather. It will be much easier to sit on a couch and just relax. And I was attempting to do that. I remembered I have to speak, so so I came. No, I enjoy speaking because I think that's all I got now. That's all I have left. Just one thing that makes sense. It's good when you feel like you have a purpose, which it took me a long time to find. And most of the time, it's not that I couldn't find it. I had that passion, but God had to do a lot of work in my life. I was born and raised in Africa. So in Africa, you have a strange life that makes really no sense. It's unbiblical. It's very corrupt. You go to school to study, and the only way to move to the next grade, you have to pay some money under the table. And the teachers and all kinds of leaders just act that way. You go looking for a driving license, you pay extra money than you should, and so you don't have to take tests sometimes. So you have a lot of accidents of people who don't know how to drive because they bought, the driving license. Crazy stuff happening. So to me, being saved, it was a way to try a new thing, to test if this works. Then it's going to be the only thing I talk about, because I was looking for one thing that works for Africa to get somewhere. So I got saved and I read the Bible. I had good mentors who really never tried to make it easy, just the way it is, the whole truth. Then somehow I had to give up everything I knew that was happening around me, including school. I had to walk away from school because there was no way to move up. So I had a friend, a Christian, who came to me one time and say, the Bible says we must have a wisdom. So here's the wisdom. You just pay 5,000, which is $10, and I will get you papers. And I know the prof who knows, he will make a diploma for you, $10. And I thought, then what? You think that's a wisdom? So I thought, this is the only way it works here. So I'm looking for another way. I'm going to keep going empty. Nothing, no diploma, no education, but I'm going to try this. This is what I told him. If I fail, you'll be watching. You remind me. But if I succeed, you're in trouble. You're going to have to change your way. So this man end up going back drinking later after he left for missions. And he got messed up and taking himself into crazy life. Then he came back. He tried to contact me on emails and Facebook. Finally, we got to talk, and he was so excited to tell me about his life. And I was messed up, and I was trying to come back. I said, that's what I told you. But I didn't say that. I just thinking, yes, that's they see the truth here. Now, life in Africa is a very strange thing. It is a life you don't just walk away from. Most people look around, there is no other chance. To be honest, business is messed up. You buy something for $10, they tell you it's $25. So you have to think, $25, if I say 12, they may go down. So you say 12, it goes to 10. Then they keep going, well, maybe 20. So finally, 18. Good deal. But the truth, it's a 10. It could have been easy. Put the label. This is $10. Pay and go. So that kind of business is not there yet. And as a Christian, I don't see that how God is into it. life living. I don't think the Bible supports that. But that's the culture. That's the only thing they know. So you understand why Africa never gets anywhere. They need discipleship. They need to know every detail. They need to try something new, but they don't know how. So I grew up thinking there is no hope. There is no way out. See, there is a way. There is a system God blesses. It's the honest system. When it's not there, it doesn't matter if you know or not. God never changes. He blesses people who are operating in the right system. So that's why for many years God never just saved Africa without somebody going and tell them. Because the Bible makes it clear. They will not be saved unless somebody is a saint to preach. So that's very interesting. It's very interesting because the Bible doesn't say somebody go preach. It says somebody have to be saint to preach. So he goes into details. I think it's Romans 10:14. Remember that, Pastor? Pastors have a Bible in their heads. They memorize that. So if they don't understand, they get into trouble. But anyway, that is a small introduction of Africa now, how it's going. Let me see if I can find. I don't know what version this is, but it says, "Then in what way will those who have not believed in him call upon him? Or in what way will those who have not heard of him believe in him? And in what way will they hear of him without a preaching?" This version is really, I just have it in this thing. I don't even know what version it is. But anyway, I am very interested. When I go to speaking in the schools, I have a different message. Because a student, especially high school, they're trying to build something. They're trying to build a future. Most of you here, you already built it, you're living it. And if you build the wrong one, well, you can give a testimony, those of you who've been through this life long enough to know those are mistakes. But when I go to church, it's the only place that I know. It's a community that I know can change the world. The only system. Here's why. I will tell you my testimony just in a moment. But this is why. There is, I've been reading books about the secret societies. I really never learned about these people until I came to USA. So these secret societies are very powerful. They have a lot of money. And in fact, they control money all over the world. They control government. That's a really strange thing. But you never hear the name. These are people who make a phone call and the president is dead. Well, that's what I did in Rwanda. The president, somebody made a phone call, he was shot in an airplane. He was killed. So, small people grew up in a village. How could we know all these things? So, this secret society, they kind of control a system. They kind of go on the internet and they control people. But when it comes to church, the church is controlled by the Holy Spirit. So, they search, they can't find the Holy Spirit in their system. So they have all these like the wheel of fortune, that thing you turn. They have numbers, everybody's on it. They keep turning it. They put you wherever they want. But when it comes to church, they can't not control anything we do. Because in fact, they think they have a big plan and the God tells us in a dream. And we ruin their dream. So they've been trying to stop the church as much as they can. For many years, they have been trying to close the church doors. So in the USA, it was happening somehow very fast. I thought today the churches will be closed. I don't know how we survived, but that's probably because of God. So this is the big problem, and it's a secret. That's why I keep ruining people's lives. But what concerns me is that the church fall asleep that way. They think it's okay, and they think actually God is going to do everything. But like I told you, God did not save Africa until we get the right system. So the people are dying in their sins, and the God is able to save, because nobody is telling us the whole truth. Because God cannot change. He cannot say, oh yeah, you're a witch doctor, but your father was a witch doctor too, so I understand. I would just save you. I would just, no, he doesn't do that. Somebody have to. So we are in a big trouble, the church. Because he will ask us, what did he do? These people needed you. So when I learned about this secret society, I was really, really happy to know actually what I'm facing, Because someday as I wonder if I'm going to join a politics someday, not just to be a politician, maybe to be like a Trump. So, I'm not a politician, I'm just going to be president, I'll say I'm just a preacher, but it's okay. I can be president too. I can use that card. He won, why not? So I keep thinking, I want to do whatever it takes to make a difference in that big continent of idiots. That's the way it is, So Africa has a very smart people, very, very intellectual people. One Ghanaian, he from scratch made a vehicle. We're not talking about like he bought this here and there. No, he made a vehicle on his own. I don't know how long it took him, but he made it. And this guy, they killed him. It just doesn't make sense. But this guy was about to invent a lot of things. So in Africa, you have actually people like that. But Africa has been put in a cage because the people benefit that way if we remain silent and stupid. That some people do business that way. So this is why the story I'm about to tell you, it happened. And you will be wondering, why will people do that? It's because it's a good business for them. It doesn't matter how many people die. If you're going to make $1 million, you don't care if 1 million black idiots die in a jungle. Nobody will ever know. But the truth, that's what is happening. So we have to value lives. And I would love to tell you all the details. I would love to speak to every church I can find, because if this world is going to change, it has to be the church and your God. Because if you don't use all the powers you got to serve the world is not going to save itself. That's the fact. We have seen a lot of examples. So I guess I don't really know where I'm going. But I'm going to tell you a small version of my story so you can buy the books. And then yeah, I'm good in the business here. And then I'm going to give you a chance to redeem yourself or ask you questions. If you ask the wrong one, you're going to still need to buy the book, because you don't get all the details. I know some of you are smart. You just read the back cover, you know what's inside. So one lady told me that. I think I read the introduction. I think I know what's in there. So I gave it to my daughter. She's going to read it. And I thought, man, people are so smart. They can tell what you're thinking. So I grew up as one of those kids you saw on a TV screen or church screen, I don't know if you guys show those videos in Africa, naked kids walking around. And some of you don't even know. You can't imagine a nicer house in Africa, do you? It's just all like bad stuff, jungles and kids running around naked and eating trash. And that's why they keep showing. I don't know why. If you go on Google and search the most expensive cities in the world, Probably the first two will be in Africa. It's strange. But I never been in those cities when I was young. I grew up in a jungle, a village. If I say village, you think it's like here. But this is just big city to us. So there was no electricity. There was no running water. We drank water from a lake, which, you know you're going to get sick someday. I had malaria like hundreds of times. I don't know how many hundreds times. I don't know. I just, I'm a survivor. I had too many times malaria. I think if you had malaria, you will die because you guys can't resist that. We just have this. I think it's a black gift, We can't survive in this cold, but in the heat, that's okay. We just survive fine. So I went to a chiropractor actually a couple of weeks ago, and he told me stories and the stories. I thought, can you do something? I messed up. He says, because you're black and it's cold. You can't handle it. That's just the way it is. I thought, that's what I've been thinking. It could be that reason. But it's a very interesting how God made this system. All black people in Africa, no snow. All white people in America, Europe, all get snow. So I don't know. Try to keep you alive, keep us alive. I don't know what vitamins in the snow, but I think you enjoy it. Some of you don't want to leave Michigan, I know. So you must love it. If you don't, you're going to come with me. I'll teach you how to escape bullets. That's our lives. But anyway. So growing up in that kind of life, I didn't have any complaint because we were fine. So when there's no competition around, you're just fine. You don't know what you're missing. Nobody had a vehicle. So when the vehicle came, we thought those are like aliens. So we went looking how it looks like. One was red and the other one was blue. My goodness, that thing moves fast. That's us. Not just kids, adults. So that life was amazing. It was just satisfactory, We were satisfied with what we had. Well, sometimes we experienced a famine and we didn't have a food. But when we had a food, it was amazing. It was good. Then one time a white man comes in a truck. We thought the real alien, came from the sky, comes to town. So we'll go poke in his eye, see if he can see. When he tried to talk, he doesn't talk our language. We thought, we never had any other language. This is amazing. You look like a human. You're just too white. So it was fun. So there's just crazy stuff. In Africa, you go there, they call you a white person, and they don't mean racism. It's just fun. And sometimes they don't know if you're human. It's just nobody told them. Okay? So if you speak their language, you get their attention. That's only one sign they know you're a human. Because you can talk. Otherwise, you are just mumbling. There's nothing. English is just not language. So that's imagine. That's us. That's how we were. No shoes. If you wear shoes, you're sick. There must be something. Why do you have to cover your nice feet, Why do you need to cover them? So that was us. But in that peaceful moment, that peaceful life was interrupted when I turned 14. Because when I turned 14, the government, which has been preparing this for a long time, over 30 years, they have one tribe, isn't a government. One tribe, only one tribe in military, police, anywhere in the leadership and the power is just one tribe. So the guns goes on one side. The other ones were just supposed to be controlled. So they decided to kill us all. So there was no defense. If you tried to join the military, they killed you after training or before training because they don't want any one of us to know how to defend ourselves. So that's really interesting because it's almost like in America. So you all have a guns. You're allowed to have one. But you almost lost them just last year or this year. There was a rumor that they're coming to get them. And the bad guys always have guns. Always. You can't take them away because they're not registered. So the good guys, they should have one too. That's just my theory. I hope you understand what I'm saying, because I have seen the consequences of all this stuff. Now, 1994, they decided to kill every one of us. They almost did it. They killed 1 million people in 100 days. Now, in my hometown, it only took 30 days before the rebels attacked and stopped them. In my hometown, in 30 days, we were 50,000 people in that place, and there were 300 of us survived. But what bothered me is that I was the stupidest kid in a city, in a village, but I survived. So I thought this was some kind of mistake. Why, if there was a God, why did he save me? He could have saved the smart people to do some stuff. But here I was. I actually had people saying, how come the real people die and this kid survive? It just doesn't make any sense. So they thought I was stupid. And here's why they thought I was stupid. When I was a kid, I was a really fat kid, and I did stupid stuff as a kid. 6 years old, I'm trying to invent a new kind of food. Because there was a famine, I'm trying to create something that will save this village. So I loved bananas. I was trying to make a banana out of sweet potatoes. So I tried. I did a lot of experiment. 6 to 7 year old, I was really trying hard. Then finally, when they see me doing stuff like that, they decided I was stupid. But you can tell where I was getting into. I was looking for a way to save this village someday. And now, 3 years ago, God calls me to go back in that village and accomplish what I started when I was 6. So it is God's big deal. And some kids, they have those crazy characters. My son, who is 2, is the smartest. He thinks he's the smartest, but he's always destroying things and try to put them back together. I'm thinking, that's me. I'll let you destroy a few things. I try to buy cheap ones, you know. So I recognize so many kids. I recognize myself in them, so I can relate. We don't know what age people become smart. They have vision, or their calling start to really manifest in their lives. But most of us don't recognize that in our children. We think we need to correct them, just spank them. Stop doing that. But really, we're just breaking them. They're trying to get somewhere. They need mentorship. So I don't think I'm a very good mentor. I'm just a talker. I tell my wife to do that. That way, I'm not very gifted with kids. I keep thinking of big ideas. Now, during genocide, you may not understand how it happens, how it works. Basically, we're in Michigan, and I know you guys hate Buckeyes. I still don't know what happened between both of you. But that means that little conflict that started in the football, it may grow bigger, and then it become Michigan's and Ohio. And then what happened is that Ohio will decide to attack overnight and just come take ambush and eliminate Michigan. But for us, they were just neighbors. They were closer. It was just about tribes. We somehow look the same, but over the years we've been separated, that we start to recognize how they look like. So the killers were short, were big, and their heads were like a box, and a flat nose. Who shaped these people? you know. So here you may recognize what you call American Indians, who hate to be called that name, by the way. So they like to beat Native Americans. I don't know why you keep calling them American Indians. They hate that. And the Americans too. So you have a discrimination among yourselves you don't even know. So you can recognize probably their hair is always dark, right? Most of them have dark hair. Who made them that way? You're all Americans, right? But why some people have a dark hair? They almost look like Indians, but they were born and raised here. This is their home. But that discrimination has been there, that we recognize how they look like. So that was like us. Now, when they attacked to kill us, it was no a discussion. Why are you doing this? No, we believed what they told us on the radio. We're supposed to die. We felt like minors and we have to die. So we run for our lives like helpless people. We would run in the bush hiding, and you will hear people being killed right here and just behind the bush. Don't move. Maybe they don't see you. And you see blood coming all over you, and you know that person died. And that's your friend or that's your mom. But just don't move. And then that's how we survived. Now, being a human, having a conscience, I'm still wondering, why is this happening to me? I was 14 years old. I never done anything wrong to these people. Why am I supposed to be killed? So that's what happened. Now, I had to have a strength. I think one of my big passion is to motivate the hope that is in the people, which is probably dying, especially in the church. A church is the most powerful community. You have the power. You can eliminate cancer without medical involved. It's simply laying hands on them. It will be done. You have that power. That power resides in you, but it doesn't work. So I'm trying to think, what are we missing here? We have this power. We can command the wind to move. We can command the snow not to come. We have that power. I remember one time we were making a brick for a widow. I think it was like probably just a poor family. She had a husband and kids, but they lived in a hut. But I met this woman in a morning prayer, like 5 in the morning. She would be there 4, but she walked. She walked at least 5 hours to get there. She was in our church every morning. So we were missionaries in that area, and we decided to learn about her life. The pastor told us, this woman is actually poor. They live in a hut. So we got to build a house. So we went there and make bricks. A lot of bricks in the mud, but that's just life there. So it was life-changing. But after we're done, the rain came, which is a really bad business. When the rain comes, it destroys everything you did, turn back into mud. So I looked in the sky. I thought, we walked 5 hours. We're going to walk 5 more hours back to where we are. And we walked all day long. I mean, we woke up at 3 a.m. to get there early in the morning. Now, what happened is I told my team, that God, remember who do we work for? I said, we work for God. We're going to ask him to stop this rain because the devil cannot just destroy our work right now. Now, there was a big, heavy crowd. It was, you could almost touch it. It was really close. So we began to command the rain to stop. And then what happened, God sent a wind. It was a wind that doesn't reach this level. It was almost like on top of this building, and it carried the whole water, the rain, over to the next mountain. And we watched like a rain moving just to yield the bricks and to go to the other side. And that just made me happy to see like, okay, the devil, look how you're a loser. We just say the word, it's done. And we always have that power. But somehow faith has to be something we remind ourselves every day. Every day. I can do this. This is possible. We have the same power that raised Christ from the dead is still in me. You got to tell yourself that every day. If you don't, you forget. It happens, these things happen all the time in my house. In my house, it happens all the time. My 2-year-old, we were camping. We were moving around raising fund. Oh, by the way, I was supposed to tell you about funding thing before, ahead of time, but I forgot. Remind me. So you can give a lot of money to us. Now, what happened? We were camping. When it's no snow, we camp to reach our churches in the area. So what happened is that my son got sick. But it doesn't make any sense. In a few minutes, he was eating. He was doing great. All of a sudden, his mouth, they're full of wounds that he cannot swallow anything. So all night, he was screaming. And we cannot tell how this happened. And it took us a while to recognize, wait a second, this is the devil. So the next day, my wife goes to the doctor and says, oh, you just let these things happen. You know what the doctors do. They don't know these are spiritual attacks. They goes like, yeah, you just let it go and somehow will go away someday. That's not how it works. So I was sitting in a car and then my wife told me that. I said, hey, bring that kid here. How did we forget? How did we miss this anyway? So we all went on, laid hands on him, command these things to go away. We did that. After we're done, we go home, and this kid was really hungry. He began to he always finds the food himself. He finds the food, starts feeding himself. He's eating like he's been hungry. Like, he's eating. He's okay. In the night, he slept all night. Thought, really? Why took us so long to recognize this? Because of faith have to be reminded every day. You have it. You just have to develop that. So it's very interesting. I speak a lot of missionary churches, and sometimes some churches just, they don't want to hear this. It's like, yeah, this is just a farce talk. It really doesn't happen. If our God cannot do what I'm saying right here, he's not worthy of following. We should just drop it. If he can't raise the dead, he said he will raise every dead, including Adam and Eve. Do you think this guy doesn't have a power to raise the dead who just died a few hours ago? If he was going to raise the first man who ever lived, I think he can do so much more. That's why I have so much hope that the church will rise again and show the world who is the boss, the mighty God we serve. So he saved me during genocide. And this is how I know. So many things were happening around, and there was no way to run, there was no way to survive. And you may ask, how did you survive? This is it. There was no way. If you didn't get killed by machetes, the bullets, you can't escape. Now, there's no bullet ever touched me. But one kid we were running with, he had probably over 100 bullet holes all over his pants and the shirt. But it's all over here, under the arms and the back and the front, everywhere. We think, you did this yourself. It's like, how can a bullet miss every time, 100 times? It doesn't make any sense. But the guy was just walking in the bullet holes in his clothes. Because this is just an evidence. If God protects you, no one, even if the whole world will rise against you, no one will touch you. But there's 3 things that I think really contributed for my survival. First, there was a song I was singing. I had this song just on the radio, and many times I didn't know the meaning. That's why you have many atheists. They don't understand. They say, well, these things are just, yeah, because they got a lot of pizza in their belly. They think everything's fine. I will be okay without God. But when the trials like that happen, you don't find one who doesn't believe in a God. Everybody does. So don't let them fool you. Tell them it's just a matter of time. You will. So as I ran, this song was just playing in my ears all the time. Ask, you shall receive. Ask, you shall receive. And I'm thinking, who say this? So the Holy Spirit of God, there's so many mysteries in the Bible that we'll never understand until we get to heaven. Like before this whole creation was complete and the Spirit of God was hovering over the water. What's that supposed to mean? I don't know. Maybe Pastor knows, will tell us. But it's just so many things. So to me, I have a strange interpretation, but I think even before you get saved, the Spirit of God is always making a way, giving you a clue. This is how you pray. So I will praise God. If you really say this, I don't want to die, then fire. Bullets will just come all over me. They just shoot that kid, shoot that kid. And then I'm running, I'm thinking, did they kill me? What happened? Am I still alive? I don't know. So for 6 years, actually, I thought they killed me. Because it makes sense. All the nightmares, they kill you overnight. You wake up running, and then you survive. Then you're still dreaming. They're killing you every night. So then I started drinking alcohol, became alcoholic really deeply. I cannot recognize the day or night. Well, for me to be saved, I just needed resurrection. It was not just to find a religion, because this is what happened. I tell stories of the guys, how they approached me, they tried to witness to me, and they pray for me. But when they lay hands on me, I mean, sometimes Jesus said some demons don't leave until you pray and fast. So the demons that were around me, they need a lot of fasting. But these guys will pray and fast. They will pray 5 hours without pause, and then you will pass out. Just, you don't want to keep up with these guys. So what happened is that when they lay hands on me, it was like I was taking a shower from within. I feel like something is clean up inside. Something is happening, some peace. The first time to experience how peace tastes like, you know. It was a beautiful thing. Then I went to bed that night. The nightmare came back, but the difference is, before they cut my head off, Jesus came from the back. And it was amazing. I began to fly in air, far away where the bullet cannot reach. I could see the killers confused, but somehow I knew I was dreaming, and I told God, please don't let me wake up, because this is the only victory I've ever had in my life. So that was God. The second thing was the words my mom told me. My mom told me that I'm going to survive. She just told me that. Before she was a kid, I was standing with her right there. She said, son, I need you to run. I said, Mom, there's no place to run to. So it doesn't matter. Just keep running. The rest of your life, never stop. Basically, never give up on anything. Just keep moving, because I see life in you. So every time I tried to give up, there's several times I tried to give myself up to be killed, because I didn't think there was a reason to live. And then that voice will come back. So there was a God. There was my mom inspiring me to live. And then the rebels who attacked the country and stopped the genocide, including my older brother, who was 2 years older than me. He was 16. And he led a team that came and rescued us from bushes and waters in a lake. Sometimes we were hiding in a lake. You would just dive in there and spend the day in there. If you raise your head to breathe once and they find you, you didn't go back down alive. So that's survivors. All the survivors have different kind of stories. So I'm grateful to be here. I don't think it's an accident, but I'm gonna give you a time to ask a question, so that way we can all be sure you are breathing. And we'll understand more. And it helps when you ask the questions. And there's no one a question that will offend me. I know people are afraid I'm gonna offend his feelings. No, I don't have a feelings. Just ask any question. So, who is the winner? The first. Not just the winner. Yes, you're the winner. Well, we don't have any confusion about it because we grew up with witch doctors, so we know miracles. And we have seen talking baskets and those are kind of crazy stuff. So if you walk into this village and they say, I know the God who can raise the dead, they don't have any doubt. They just know there is more power. You came with more power. So they believe you straight. But they don't believe in a God. They don't know God. If they do, it doesn't go deeper. They put him on a shelf among other gods they worship. So our job is to tell them you have to get rid of the others and they worship one God alone. So that takes a process to convince them this God is a jealous God. You do not combine him with others. So that's one of many problems. But it's easy to tell them because I remember 2007, I went to Uganda, close to Uganda and Sudan, between the Sudan and the Uganda. There were survivors of another guy called Joseph Kony. He's been killing people in that area. So we are with his survivors. We spent 2 weeks there. The first night I preached, nobody got saved. So I spent 2 weeks of praying and fasting over this camp. Then at the end, I preached again. But at the end, I told them Elijah's stories. I tried to scare them. If you don't get saved, I will kill you. No. But Elijah was tough. But I told them the whole story. But I told I'm not going to kill you. I'm just standing here because I know their powers. I say, bring your powers. Hit me really hard. I'm standing right here. But if you fail, you're going to follow my God. So I was setting myself up. I knew there are two things going to happen. They're going to send me to my God, or my God is going to win. And he won. Every one of them got saved that night. So it was a very amazing. I was the only black in my team. All my other team members, they would have a meeting without me because they thought I was going crazy. So they had this system. You have to make them friends, and then finally you're gonna, slowly. Then I come and interrupt. The mission director in that region was like, "Don't talk about Jesus first. Just build the schools." I'm thinking, these people are going to be killed probably while we are there, and you're telling me a school is gonna preach to them? So we have to tell them the truth straight. They choose. They have a right to choose which God that they have to follow. So I did that, and I got into trouble the first night. For 2 weeks, I was the enemy of and I was a leader, but they didn't care. I was the African. They didn't care. I know about Africa more than they do. But then the whole camp ended up being saved. That was my victory. But I had to pray and fast to seek God. So these people, they are in a deeper darkness. But if you say the truth to them, they are willing to die for it. So that it's like a Muslim. Muslim is the best people in the world. If you introduce the truth, you manage to tell them the truth, they are willing to die for Jesus, because they're willing to die for nothing anyway. So, so that's a world over there. If you find the Christians, sometimes it's just light. It's no deeper because they don't know what they're talking about. When you look at them, they're just, all they're thinking is that this Jesus is going to give us money. So that's just their gods. They're still worshiping their gods, but they think they're Christians. So that's why discipleship is very needed in that area. So I'm going to be in my village where I grew up. That's where God sent me first. That's the starting point. But my hope is to reach 12 countries in East Africa. So there are a lot of villages. But that's just where we want to start. Yes. Yeah. There's no war in Rwanda. Burundi used to be the same country as Rwanda. They experienced the same thing. People are just dying on the street. But I think we have to be sure we tell them the truth of their life, their story, their history, where did they come from. Because when the people don't have a purpose, you can use them in any way. So the politicians are using uneducated people to accomplish their plan. Some politicians believe Africa is just being too big. They have to be reduced. There's some activities going around. There's some hidden societies that think black communities are growing fast. We have to reduce it. And there's some of them that were your leaders just discovered that recently that one of the generals in the U.S., in a UN army who was in charge of UN in Rwanda, began to call these countries, and some of those leaders will go like, well, just get out. They're just overpopulated. So it's not just racism. It's really like a religion. That's what they believe. They believe that we're supposed to die. We are too many. So if I told them this story, they will understand it's not about them against themselves. There's somebody twisting their minds. So I hope I can get Burundi as soon as I can. If they don't kill me, I will save them. But I know God is saying, Miss, I will survive with your prayers. So, yes, sir. How many years I ran? It was only 30 days. Then I got really lazy. I don't run anymore. I just eat. It took 30 days for genocide to happen in my area. So by the running, the race for life, what I'm talking about is keeping up with your life. Because some people decide to end it, or they give up on the things that were very important because they don't see a purpose. So that I consider that keep running. That's the race for life. Well, Rwanda is the safest country now in East Africa, in whole Africa actually. But things happen overnight. You don't know how the politics, is going to change. And then sometimes you get a president get killed, and then people attack, and then the war begins again. But so far, so good. We have peace, which is good for me. I have a family that is made in the USA, so I have to keep them safe, keep them in the city. Then I will go with the teams in those villages, because we know these people. We know how to escape. Really, it's not like they're gonna catch us by surprise. We are aware where we are going. We know strategies, but you never know. Well, it's still, the whole education in a universal way is just not just at Rwanda, even here. Education, it has become something like factory. It's not inspiring people to actually study to know. It's inspiring to study to get a paper. So you don't have to know anything. As long as you have that paper, you're going to get a job, and you're going to have money, you're going to buy stuff, then you're going to die. That's So it's still bad. But my hope is that we have a lot of adults who lost a chance to go back to high school. So if I start a school, it will be for the adult who missed the chance. But it will be different because it will be more inspiring than just educating them. Because these people, they need to know how to read and to write in some ways, and they need to know how to run businesses. They need to understand development is happening around them. But how do we keep up with that and stay alive? Because, this country is very civilized, but look at Detroit or look at Chicago. Some people don't even want to go to Chicago because they know you can just get shot on the street. So it's because the people, they have knowledge, but they don't have a wisdom. So we have a chance to begin, but what are you going to start with is what the people are going to continue with. So my job is actually just to really inspire people, and I'm going to be speaking probably in every school in the country. I'll be in the radios and just be the voice, because I want people to understand education is not the main answer to us. We need to learn our own history. I've been thinking of going to start the first library ever happened in our country. So they don't have one. It's interesting. We have a lot of heroes, very powerful people who ended the genocides all over Africa, but we don't know them because there's no book for them. So I'm hoping to inspire even the leaders to just write books, their own stories, tell us where did we come from. So all these things, the country is in a mess. It's developing fast, but they don't know where they're going. So they don't know what they're getting into. Here, you have, for example, technology is really great. It's helping a lot of things. But the kids don't have a relationship with their parents. That's why they start to shoot people, because they don't really know what life is all about. So what if there was another department in the state that inspires the people in the schools? There is no God in the school. You don't talk about God only if you're opposing God. That's the only way you're going to talk about God. So it's your job as adults, as citizens, to bring God back to this generation. It's the only answer. There's no other way. So there are a lot of things that needs to be done in Africa. I don't know where to begin, but I just want a thing at a time. Yeah, I wish it was 101, or I can multiply into 100 people and I go do a lot of things at the same time. But yeah.
Just a couple of stories I would like you to share with them as our time comes to an end. First of all, I think you told us at the school today about obviously when you were running for your life and knowing at one point you had an option of, do I die by these guys or do I go to the fire? And then the pastor who preached the message later on, and how all of a sudden you realize, man, that's my story. And then the other thing I'd just like you to share a little bit as we kind of wrap up here is the things that you've seen as you've become an American citizen and the parallels between what you experienced in Rwanda and what you see as possibilities here. Because our time is getting close to ending, but I just think those are a couple of stories that I've heard you tell here in the last day or so that I'd really like these people to hear. So, if you would.
Well, I was a child, just walking around. The kids will wake up in the morning. If there's no school, you go wherever you want. You come back in the night. If you need a lunch, come back home. It was just like that. So there was a Pentecostal church. There was this guy. He had a really loud voice. This guy had a really power of God in him. He was a great preacher. So I heard it over and over. His voice was just in my ears all the time. He was preaching all the time. Then he's the first to bring the video in the city. The first video we saw was a Jesus movie. It was amazing. We were super impressed. But we were not impressed with the gospel because we were so distracted with the best thing we ever seen. It's a white man is speaking in our language. It was like on the screen. Then they will go in the back. He's there too, on the other side. Man, it was great. Then Genocide happened and we didn't get saved, and about probably 15 years later, a friend invited me, Richard, the guy who led me to Christ, he invited me to speak in his church. So he was one of the associate pastor sitting right in the front. I kept looking at him and said, I know this guy. And I know this guy. I don't know, I don't remember, but I know this guy. Then finally he got up. Before I came up to speak, then he spoke. He still had that deep voice. And then he sat down. My hair was like flying off of me. This is the guy. I still remember the song he used to sing about the cross. I still remember his voice. When the microphone went out, he kept speaking. The whole village will hear him. This guy was loud. And then I got up and said, Pastor, have you spoke in this village 1990s or 80s? He's like, yes. Yes, I used to go there. I used to have a conference there. I said, you saved our lives. Because that's the voice, even the hope we ever had. Anybody told the truth in that village was that guy. We didn't get saved, but he planted a seed that we kept following until many of us got saved. So that was really amazing. So if I got it right, you're talking about how this whole thing's related to USA and the situation was happening here. Well, let me tell you, to me, you can't start a genocide in a country. If I am in a country, you can never surprise me. You can never start a violence or any killing and I miss it. I mean, I know every trick, how everything begins. I know it. So 8 years ago, when I came here, this country, I was still amazed. Man, wonderful people. Just enjoying life somehow, forgetting God, yes, but wonderful people. You loved one another, everything was going well. No 100% everything, but there was no shooting mostly happening. So this shooting began to happen. I will watch the videos and what happened. I will find the lies. This is not true. A kid didn't know just get upset and go shoot the people in a movie theater. There is something to that. Then other situations began to come, like a white cop was shooting a black man. And all the black community, there is a church in Dayton, Ohio, that brings the lawyers to come and train the youth about their rights. I think that's the most stupid thing I've ever seen. They're not telling them to build a character to win the police officer. They are telling them if police officer stops you, you know your rights. This is your right. I think that's kind of stupid. So they're scared of a white policeman shooting a black man because the media made them think the white cops are going to eliminate black people on the street. That's just how it looks like. So they begin to run for their lives. After that, you get to see like this woman, they pull her out of a car, she was smoking, and they say, the police officer say, would you please, shut that, down the cigarette? It's like, it's my cigarette, I can smoke, I can drink, I can do whatever you want. She's talking to the police officer. So the police officer, probably not saved, he doesn't have that patience, say, get out. So I'm not getting out, so he got her out by force. So it's on tape. The media gets that. And they tell all the black people, you're in trouble. Tell all the white people, you got to be careful. And then you have this Black Lives Matter shooting white cops. Guys, that is not how it is. That's a schemes. Somebody